leaders cultivate a collaborative mindset within a company that breaks down silos regardless of its centralized or decentralized structure?
Yes, so I think that the structures are something that we've all built ourselves, right? So, and there were different reasons why we do it. So we either, organize the groups by business unit, where you try to look for products that have some type of similarities when it comes to going to market structures, or you do it with a customer focus, right? So you kind of create this, and I think in companies we've put centralized, decentralized, and we've been changing those models as like global and US, and we've been doing that forever. I think that there is no right model, right? But what we need to try to do is to get people, regardless of what part of the organization you work in, that you're interested in the other ones. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I've always been surprised in my career, that I would go to a meeting and they would say, just talk about this. They're not going to be interested. And I would say, well, why are we making the decision if people are going to be interested or not in other parts of the vision of the business? And I think that what we're trying to do is to say, regardless of where, what area or what function you have, understanding what the company has to deliver, mm-hmm. or what our goals are, or what our purpose is, right? Even if you don't contribute to that directly, the fact that you understand it is going to make you be more involved in the decisions that the company makes. Yep. So I'll give you a specific example, right? There are areas, so imagine you work in a specialty business, right? For our company, for example, vaccines is half of our group. How can you work in a company that has a broad portfolio of vaccines and just not have a general knowledge? And also there's a lot of areas where you start seeing, if you work in oncology patients are immunodeficient, so they're going to need vaccines. So there's always areas that can cross over. So that's one of the things that we're trying to get people interested in all parts of the company. And that's how you start breaking silos.
Of course. I think that leads me nicely on to my next question, which is about trust. Obviously, building trust is really pivotal within an organization. So how do you approach trust building initiatives within teams that enable that cross-functional collaboration? And are there any successful endeavors you can share, or any challenges that you've experienced as well?
Yeah, so I think that probably many of you in the audience lead teams, and the hardest thing, it's a lot harder than performance, it's a lot harder than a launch, right, is to build trust in your organization. How do you get people to feel that what they're doing contributes to something every single day? How do you make people, just bring that part with them, and that they leave every day motivated because they feel that what they're doing has impact? Mm-hmm. And that's so difficult, because also reaching every individual is very different. If I think of my own leadership team, they couldn't be more different. The way I talk to one or motivate one versus the other is very different. And I think that as a leader, one of the things that I try to do, I try to be very transparent. I start the year talking to my organization of the highs, if we've had a good year, but I also talk about the things I've done wrong, or it's not even done wrong, or decisions that you would have done differently if you had a chance to do them again, and the learnings from them. And I think that when you start taking that fear out and enabling people to make decisions, and they see it's okay to not get it right, that's when the trust, and it's such a difference. When you start seeing that trust, it's the most powerful thing that you can get in an organization. Without a doubt, it will drive performance, it will drive innovation.
Wonderful, thank you, Maya. I know that you see a lot of importance in lateral career development as well. So could you elaborate on specific experience where lateral movement has enhanced collaboration and innovation in your organization?
Yes, so I think lateral moves it's interesting. You've always seen the career that you're waiting for the person that's above you to leave, and some people don't move for years, right? So that's just not the way it's going to happen. And I think that, what I think, there's some concepts that people have that are just not right. It doesn't mean that because you take a lateral move, you can't have a promotion, right? You can have a salary increase. I think people are very fixated on grades. Grades they change almost every 5 years in most companies. And so I think what you have to think about, or the way I've looked at it, is what are the capabilities that you're going to gain from each one of the positions? That when you go to compete for those final jobs that you have a broader experience, right? So that you check the box on more experiences. And I think the other thing that lateral moves help you with is there's nothing like being in someone else's job to appreciate what they do, right? So an example is market access. It's like, we all expect to have access every year until we don't, but how difficult, right, those positions are. So if you have a chance to work in that space, or, I always tell people they should have customer-facing experience in whatever job, right? Because you develop skills and you respect what those people do in a very different way. I just went to Washington. I'll give you an example. And I was with my government affairs team, and I spent a day with the state team. And my appreciation for what those people do every day is completely different, right? So I think that the more experiences that you can do, the more you can broaden your capabilities. That's what those lateral moves can give you.
Wonderful, thank you, Maya. I'd love to move on to strategic partnerships now. So can you discuss the shift from viewing external entities as suppliers to strategic partners, and what are some tangible benefits and challenges associated with the shift?
Yeah, so this is something we started working on a little bit over a year ago. So I think that historically, we've thought of, we're very internally focused normally. I've been in 3 large pharmas. I would say it was consistent across the 3. And when we think of our partners, sometimes we think of them as vendors, right? And I think you're going to get out of these partnerships what you put into them, kind of. So, if I ask, say, someone like CS, like Maria, that's going to come up after me, who I've worked with for some time, to come in to do a project, it's completely different if she knows what I'm trying to achieve, if I invest the time to take her on the journey that I want to do, versus if she does a field sizing project and leaves, right? So we've chosen 6 strategic partners. We're investing the time. It takes from both companies as well, right, to both sides to understand and to make commitments and try different things, but it's trying to find solutions together, right? And I also think that some of our partners have changed so much. Their capabilities, they've purchased different skill sets that we don't have the capability to scale up quickly enough. So when do we give them the opportunity to come to us and say, what's changed? How often should we have conversations with them, right? You're going to get out of those partnerships what you put into them. I'm convinced of that. A consultant is not going to come and fix your problems. But if you want them to be a thought partner, first, you have to really take the time to show them what your business is like. And second, you can't not like what they tell you, right? Because sometimes they'll come with solutions. You're like, yeah, no, I don't want to hear that one. But so we're working, it's a change in mindset, but it really is something I truly believe in, because we're not going to solve some of the problems that we have alone. We've tried to fix things like health equity, reaching different communities. We've tried to do it alone. We can't, right? So I think it's through partnerships that we're going to do a better job of that, and it's just going to require everyone sharing information and just behaviors we haven't done in the past.
Absolutely. Yeah, so no, long-term partnerships are definitely integral. Can you share some insights into how these partnerships are cultivated and sustained, particularly in the face of such a fast-moving industry?
Right. I mean, I think that's the problem. Is normally when we engage in these things, it's like a one and done, right? So you do, you do a project and then they're gone. And I think that, and what we're trying to do is, can we look at that 2 to 3 year vision and commit to that together, right? Where there's sustainable partnerships, and we're working with retailers in completely different ways, with wholesalers in completely different ways. It's not about negotiating a contract with them for 4 years. That's their basic, that's never gonna go away. But what else can we do together to bring innovation to the ways we're working? And it's incredible how many opportunities are there once you start those conversations.
Absolutely. So to keep up with evolution and innovation, leveraging data and technology is a must. So can you give us some insight into how a cultural transformation that relates to data and technology projects that you've done in GSK, some of the projects that you have underway at the moment?
Yeah, so listen, we've been talking about digital and innovation and AI. I think we have more projects across all the industries than we can think of. I think the way I look at it is, if you choose some strategic areas that are very important for you, like customer centricity, innovation when it comes to access, innovative partnerships, and how can data enable those areas for us, right? And how can technology? So one of the things we've realized is, with many of these partners we were talking about, we're all in different platforms. So when we try to connect our data, we're just, completely incapable, right? So I think we've come a long way. So 2 years ago, I think we were all just buying data, and then we didn't know what to do with it. We had such an excess of data. And then what we realized, we didn't have the platforms to be able to connect that data efficiently. And so I think we've improved a lot. There's still a lot of areas, but what you start seeing is that when you use technology in the right way, there is no doubt that it has impact, right? We've been using it with the field, and understanding what content your customers want or need at the right time and how they want you to take it to them, right? It's so impactful.
Absolutely.
Right? So we have to continue to work on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maya. How do you ensure that these tools are effectively integrated into the organization's culture rather than just, imposed from the top down?
Well, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest learning, right? So we said, many times we come up with these projects and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do the digitally native, rep, and you push it down, and what you realize is you have an organization that has been extremely successful in ways of working, and they have had tremendous results for the last 20 years. And they're like, yeah, no, I don't need this. You're not gonna tell me how to work my territory better than me. So I think what we tried to do was to pilot certain areas and to show the value. And that's the only way. If you don't get the buy-in of the people that are going to use these resources, it will never, and you can't quantify like that, like only 45%, we gotta get to 55%. It's not that. Unless you change it in the culture of the company, unless you show people the value and the impact and the results, right? So you have to set up the analytics to be able to follow and see the impact of the project, and then you have to share those. And once you do, everybody wants to have something that makes you work better or be more efficient. So I think we've learned a lot in that space, and I think that's something that we continue to build bottoms up. Has to.
Perfect, thank you, Maya. I think we've only got time for one more question, so I'd love to ask if you could, distill all this information into a key takeaway or insight that you can provide to leaders and emerging leaders and frontline professionals that are really striving to achieve exceptional outcomes for patients.
Yes, I mean, I think that I'm a true believer that you will get innovation. There is no doubt that you will get performance if you have the right people and you have them working together. And the most important thing, and I think this is how we started our conversation, is that people feel valued. There is nothing worse, and we've all worked for people, different leaders. It's so interesting, right? You learn just as much about the ones that were terrible than the ones that were wonderful, right? But I think just really trying to find what motivates each one of the people in our teams, that they wake up and they do something that they like, that you create an environment that they feel that they can be innovative and try new things. And it sounds so easy, but it's so complicated. But it starts with each one of us as leaders trying to bring that out of the people in our teams. And, you know, I can tell you I've been, as I said, doing this for many years. There is no better asset for any company than people. And when you have people that believe that they can do what they like doing and that they're having impact, you can do anything, right? A lot more than any projects or investment in other areas. I would just leave you with that idea of prioritize your teams and people because they're your biggest asset.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Maya. That was a really
Thank you.
good talk. Thank you so much. Views expressed in this podcast are those of individuals being interviewed and do not reflect any company, parent company, or affiliates they represent.